It's hard to think of a time we've seen an offense quite like this Saints offense. It seems as though no matter what defensive scheme you run, they can beat you. We all know about Drew Brees' insane accuracy, and oftentimes teams will go all out to try to stop him. However, you can't really do that. As you see on this play, Philadelphia is running a cover 1 hole. This is a man coverage play with 2 Eagles taking away the middle of the field. It's a pretty good play to stop the pass. However, it's not quite a perfect play. New Orleans is going to give all of their offensive linemen one-on-one blocks against all 4 Eagles that are on the line. They're then going to send their center up to block another Eagle. Teams without a good offensive line wouldn't be able to do this, as it only requires one guy to miss their block, and it could end up being a tackle for a loss. However, the Saints are very much a team with a good offensive line. Everyone makes their blocks very well, and it ends up being a solid run play for 8 yards. Saints fans might not love this comparison, but it reminds me of the Atlanta Falcons offense from a couple of years back. And I know at first that comparison might seem a little bit odd, as part of what made that Falcons offense so good is how it had plenty of good wide receivers. Meanwhile, excluding Michael Thomas, the Saints don't have a ton of talent in the wide receiver department. Not to say that they're bad, they just don't have a Mohamed Sanu type number 2 receiver. However, with Drew Brees, they don't really need one. Take a look at this play. On paper, it's the perfect way to take away a pass. It's a cover 2 man, and they're double teaming Michael Thomas on this play. It's also going to end up only being a 3-man rush, meaning it should be very difficult for Brees to make a throw here. There's now 8 defensive backs in coverage and only 4 Saints wide receivers. However, Brees is arguably the most accurate quarterback to ever play. In my opinion, he is the most accurate quarterback to ever play. So even though Ted Ginn Jr. might not be as talented as Mohamed Sanu, he doesn't need to make as much separation. He just has to make some separation. Brees is able to make a perfect throw, and they're able to pick up a first down. While this New Orleans offense is really talented, they don't rely on just talent alone. Sean Payton does a great job of scheming and game planning to make things even easier for his offensive players. This play's a good example. First things first, they're going to fake a wide receiver handoff to the top half of the screen. This is going to force an Eagle linebacker to get to the top half of the screen. They also have a fullback in the game, and he's going to lead block to the bottom half of the screen. Ingram's also going to follow him in that direction, which is going to force another Eagles linebacker to the bottom half of the screen. Now the Saints can just send their center up to block that last linebacker, and they've pretty much completely taken away the Eagles linebackers. Ingram can easily just run up the middle for a solid gain. This play essentially becomes the first play I showed you. However, the difference is, because of this play concept by the Saints, no matter what kind of defense the Eagles were running on this play, it still has the same result as if they were running that cover 1 hole, which is terrible against the run. If you're an Eagles fan, you're probably thinking, okay, I know the Eagles defense got blown out by the Saints earlier. However, I've seen both the Cowboys and Panthers hold the Saints offense in check. So clearly there has to be a way to stop them. And it is true, there is a way to do it. In fact, believe it or not, the Eagles actually had a couple of okay defensive plays in that first game. This play is going to be a run play. And if it is a run, that's the positioning that each of the Eagles on the line should be at. Meanwhile, the 3 Eagles in the box should all stay relatively back and play in their zone. However, take a look at the 2 circled Eagles linebackers. They're both going to cut in and run to the right side. The reason for this is because they spot that it's going to be a run to that side. This is a gamble, because if they read this play wrong, and it was actually a play action, it would be very easy for someone to throw over the top of them. However, they made the right read, and they were able to stop Ingram for a short gain. And while that play was very well done by Philadelphia, on the very next play, the Eagles did something very stupid. They're running a cover 2 zone on this play, but look at how far back the Eagles defenders are going to be playing. The first down marker is just at the 24-yard line, and many of the zones are completely past the 24-yard line. This is the route concept that New Orleans is going to be running, and Brees knows that the way to beat a play like this is to just make a quick pass and let his receiver do the work. It ends up being too easy for the Saints. They pick up the first down, not by talent or by them making a great scheme, just by Philadelphia not calling the right play. As I've said before, no matter what play you run, this Saints team can beat you on it. However, I think the one concept that's probably the best way to limit the Saints offense is by playing a cover 1 linebacker blitz. It's personally my favorite play, and I'll show you exactly how it works. First things first, the Eagles have a defender watching the Saints halfback. If he runs a route, then that defender will follow him to that route. However, if he's just pass blocking, then that defender will rush the passer. That's not necessarily what you do on every cover 1 linebacker blitz, but it is what they're doing on this one. Philadelphia is also going to have 5 men straight up rush the passer, meaning that it'll be a good way to generate pressure on Drew Brees. It also means if there is a running play, there's a good chance that a defender could get in the area and make a tackle. As for the rest of the play, it does leave one-on-one matchups on each receiver. However, you still do have a safety back. You could also modify it, and instead of having a safety back, double team Michael Thomas if you want. Although, as we've seen before, double teaming Michael Thomas isn't always the perfect play, and the last thing you want is for someone to break a tackle and then be able to get an easy touchdown. This is the route concept that the Saints are going to be running, and since it's man coverage, you want to hit a receiver right as they cut, meaning somewhere on these 3 circles will be where Drew Brees is looking for. However, the reason I like this play against the Saints is instead of requiring all 11 defenders to make good plays, you're now just requiring 3 Eagles defenders to make good plays. As you see, they all have good coverage on this one, and Drew Brees isn't able to connect the pass. While Brees is pretty great at just about everything, the one way where maybe he's not as great is when passing against man coverage, which isn't saying much. Against man coverage typically is when you don't want to pass the ball, but I still think it's worth mentioning. Look at this play from week 15 when the Saints played the Panthers. It's a cover 2 man, and as you see, the Panthers are going to be playing very tight coverage. If New Orleans was running on this play, it probably would have gone for a decent amount of yards. However, because Carolina was able to guess right, and they were able to play man coverage on a passing play, they were able to be in a good situation. Brees tries to fit it into a tight window and ends up getting picked off. While this one was a bit of a fluky interception and probably wouldn't be an interception most of the time, it also wouldn't have been a completed pass most of the time. However, one of the key problems with running man coverage against this Saints team is it's very easy for them to game plan and make plays to pick up big yards. As you see here, there's a couple of tells right away that can show that it's man coverage. The easiest one is there's 2 Eagles defensive backs playing right on the line and almost right next to each other. If this was zone coverage, you would almost never do this. There's also another Eagles defensive back playing right up on the line, meaning there's plenty of reasons for New Orleans to believe that it's man coverage. And as you see, it is in fact man coverage. It's once again a cover 1 hole. What the Saints are going to do here is first have a receiver run out into the middle of the field. This is going to draw the Eagle defensive back who's in charge of guarding him in that direction. Now the Saints are going to have their tight end start off blocking a defensive end, but then he's going to move out to the outside. They're also going to have their right tackle move up to block a linebacker. From there, Drew Brees can simply just flip it to his tight end, and there's no Eagle in the top half of the screen. Once again, it's all too easy for the Saints, and they're able to pick up a first down. There's also another problem with Philadelphia running a lot of cover 1 linebacker blitzes, and that's that they don't exactly have the best personnel for it. Take a look at this play. It's another example of the Eagles running a cover 1 linebacker blitz. The key to man coverage is that your defensive backs have to make plays, and Philadelphia's defensive backs did not make plays on this one. As you see at the top half of the screen, Michael Thomas is able to completely own his matchup, and he gets pretty well open. This forces the Eagles safety that was back in that area. Brees sees this, and then decides to throw to a different receiver. That receiver also won his matchup pretty well, and was able to get pretty well open. This is a 20-yard gain simply from the Saints winning their matchups. This is the problem with the Eagles playing the Saints. They just do not match up well against them at all. Everyone's talking about how Nick Foles has been playing unbelievable under Doug Peterson, and while he has been playing very good football, if the Eagles defensive backs keep getting beat like they did on this play, Foles is going to have to score a touchdown almost every drive just for the Eagles to stand a chance.